Kurubatu, it's my pleasure having you on the other side of the radio. It's time for us to talk and talk for development, and I have something on my mind I'd like to share with you. So, going through the pages of newspapers to find out what is trending, what is happening, just to keep myself abreast with, the current affairs, I came across the report, the story of plenary at the House of Representatives yesterday when our very own Honorable Abiante, who represents the Andoni Opobo constituency, he came up with, the idea that for someone to be declared a winner of a presidential election or to be declared winner of a governorship election in Nigeria, the person must meet certain, criteria. And, one of it is to have more than 50% of the vote. You would also still have, 2/3 of the local government areas if it is in the state level or at the state level, or if it is at the national level, you would have 2/3 of, the number of states that we have, just in case we restructure. So let's go with the number of states that we have. And he also said that you would have a quarter of the votes, I think something like that. Yeah, a quarter of the voters or something like that. But basically, it was saying just going by a simple majority should not be how we, determine who should be our leader. Now, why is this conversation important? I'll tell you. Nigeria has always had the conversation or, the discourse about whether we can ever produce good leadership in the country. We've always talked about how leadership has been, the major issue that we have in the country. A lot of people have, have decried poor leadership, not just at the national level, at the state and local government levels. A lot of people were hoping that the 2023 general elections would have, helped Nigeria in the sense that if we got it right, we would have been able to, solve the problem of leadership. And it's no wonder, prior to the election last year, a lot of conversations were centered on amending the Electoral Act. And so we saw an amendment materialize in 2022, right? That was when the then president signed the amendment into law. Why? Because we believed, and maybe still believe, that if we get our elections right, if we get it, to be free, fair, and credible, we will then have good leaders become presidents and governors and even fill the legislative positions. However, Abiante's proposal, the bill, has been stepped down. It's been refused, and I'm now wondering, what are they afraid of? Why did they unanimously refuse, to even debate, to even discourse, that bill? And I'd like us to, rub minds on that one. My guest is about to join us. He will join us very shortly, and I will introduce him. But I'd like you to remember that in 2023, I don't think anybody scored up to 50% of the votes cast for the presidential election. Yes, so I don't think Tinubu got 8,794,726 votes. Atiku Abubakar came second with 8,794,726 votes. Atiku Abubakar got 6,984,520 votes. And then Peter Obi got, I think, 6,100,000+ votes. And if you put all of it together, it was not up to, I think you can say the president got a couple of votes, maybe 24% thereabout, if my mathematics is good. Because if you add the votes of Atiku, Obi, and what's his name now, Kwankwaso, you're talking somewhere within the region of 14 plus million votes, and Tinubu got 8. So if you add all of it, you'd maybe get around 23, 24 million votes that were cast, and Tinubu got just 8 plus million. So is that affecting the kind of leadership that we have right now? And that's why I have invited Marcus Ijioma, a socio-political commentator and a media consultant, into the studio. The last time he and I had a conversation, he came up with the phrase, what did you call it again? Internally displaced politicians. Revist.
They have been reinstated in the IDP camps. Okay. They are all working now.
It's good to have you, Marcus. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Kala. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Port Harcourt.
All right. So my very first question is, it looks like, before we get into this very issue, this bill that has been stepped down, it looks like our leadership are using the trial
and
error approach, to get things done. Last week they talked about the parliamentary system of governance. They talked about if we should do state policing. They have talked about it looks like, even the president sometime this week said his government does not have the solution to all of the problems in the country.
Correct.
So I'm wondering, what's your take on that one?
Well, it's funny, it's laughable, but it's rather unfortunate.
Okay.
Because we have a blessed country. That is not an understatement. This morning I was watching a very popular TV station in Nigeria, and I've been on that station for a couple of days now, and I realize how brilliant Nigerians are.
Okay.
We are not bereaved of ideas.
Okay.
We are not bereaved of educated people. We are not bereaved of people who are well schooled. Statistics has it that we have a large chunk of Nigerians in best universities in the UK and the US. And our best brains are out there as well. So we have never lacked the most important ingredient in leadership, which is a human capital. We are very rich in it. However, it is a travesty that we find ourselves in a situation where the best of us are ruling, the worst of us are ruling the best of us.
So leadership problem.
Yes, it cannot be overemphasized. It's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. As a matter of fact, most African countries are suffering the same thing. But let's zero in on Nigeria. We have a crop of leaders that were thrown up by corrupt electoral systems, that were not the original people to be there. The problem starts from the primaries.
So you're saying the conduct of the 2023 general elections can be linked to our current economic problem?
Of course. The leaders that we elect, either by hook or by crook, administer, they run this election. What we're having is having a plane that has the potential to fly maybe 35,000 feet, being piloted by a pilot who cheated in the exam. Not just at the national level, not just at the legislative level, but most of the governors are like that.
Okay. Now, I like what you've said now, because it will give me the ability to ask you my next question. If you say that elections are linked to the problems that we have right now, let's stay with the national. Looking at the
National Assembly, you mean?
No, the national,
federal,
the president
Presidency,
now, or the presidency. Looking at that position, the major candidates all said they were going to do the things that we are experiencing now.
No.
They said they were going to remove petrol subsidy. They said they were going to fix the FX and give the naira value. Some made some very exorbitant promise. So they all said they were going to do this. So
Kala, let me tell you
I'm listening.
Let me tell you something.
I'm listening.
Kala Dakolo. Somebody called you on air just now, Chief K. They have added Chief to your titles. Chief Kala Dak. If two of us make a promise on the strength of our popularity, you are more popular than I am.
Okay.
There's a likelihood of people.
I don't agree, but go ahead.
There's a likelihood of the public. If Kala says today that I will give you the first caller 100,000, and I say the same thing, maybe on my Facebook page or tweet X handle or something, who do you think Port Harcourt residents will take more serious? It's Kala. Okay. Because Kala has a reputation of a broadcast journalist. They know what he stands to lose if he doesn't keep that promise. But if a certain Marcus Ijioma sitting somewhere in Woji community makes the same pledge, there will be doubt. So that all the candidates made promises does not mean that all of them have capacity to deliver on the promises that they made. It was a good thing to say we will remove subsidy, even though I've never been an advocate of subsidy removal. But yes, the economic pundit, the Harvard graduates and the Yale people,
and the
IMFs and the World Bank of this world will tell us all of the positive concerning subsidy removal. But what they didn't tell us is what we should do before subsidy is removed. We don't need to emphasize on what we should do when subsidy was removed. So that's the difference between the candidates. One candidate has more credibility than the other. Unfortunately for us, that's not the one we have.
Okay. So you have now said the elections are linked to what we're currently going to.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you another question, but I'm looking at the clock and we have a very short commercial. So I'm going to go for the commercial. But let me just throw it so you can start to think on that. Now, recently at the legislative arm of government, there have been talks about restructuring, parliamentary. Are these the solutions?
Some of the solutions.
We will be right back.
Thank you very much.
Anywhere Clara enters.
By the way, but I'll leave that. Welcome, Marcus. Good to have you.
Much,
yeah. So yeah, before we went for that break, I was asking that I started by asking you if we're doing the trial and error approach and if leadership is really the problem, and then I then asked you the question. Looking at the legislative arm, it looks like they are also trying to do the best to churn out laws that will help mitigate some of the issues that we're faced with. And, they've been talking about parliamentary system, for instance. They've been talking about restructuring, on the side of the president. We've heard about state policing. All of these things mentioned. What's your take on that,
Kala? We're talking about whether 50% majority vote should be...
No, we'll get to that.
Now, let me tell you what is happening in this current administration. Sorry to say. Like I gave the instance of a plane earlier. It's like once in a while when I'm able to afford it, I fly. But just imagine that you are airborne. Nigeria is currently airborne. We have taken off from May 29th. We're currently airborne and our destination is 2027. And here you are with pilots and crew members saying, no, press this. the landing gear will go off. No, it hasn't gone off. Oh, no, remove the landing gear, open the flaps. Can you increase the throttle on the engine? That's what they are doing. You know, Nigeria before now was on autopilot. So the subsidy pilot, or subsidy was our autopilot. So no matter what it was, as long as fuel was cheap, we could manage every other thing. So they disengaged the autopilot button, which was the subsidy. You removed it. Meanwhile, every other thing was tied to that thing. Transport, food, security, all kinds of things were tied to it. So we now have legislators who are confused, who did not go to National Assembly with any plan. Those days, I remember very well, I was very young in the 80s and early 90s, in the Babangida transition. A senator, the then Senate President, Ame Ebute, I know him very well because his son was my classmate in secondary school, was not a political scientist, or he is not, he's still alive, he's not a political scientist, but his aide is a political scientist. His aide was the then former Minister of Interior, Abba Moro, now Senator. So Senator Abba Moro used to be a legislative aide to former Senate President Ame Ebute, and so was the former governor of Sokoto State, Tambawa. Tambawa came into the National Assembly as a legislative aide, but later defeated his boss to become a House of Rep member, and then defeated his boss to become governor. Now, his former boss though. But why are we saying all of these things? We had legislators then who knew the impact, the importance of hiring professionals. But today, what do we have? A House of Rep member or House of Assembly member or national senator gets into the National Assembly. You know that you are a doctor. You have no business being in the National Assembly. You know that you are, you read humanities. Or which course will I say that?
Humanities still has something to do with governance.
I'm looking for another course. Okay, let me use my course, languages and linguistics. And then I find myself in the Senate for whatever reason. And then I don't have the sense to now hire a political scientist or a lawyer, somebody who knows a lot about the laws, to advise me on what kind of bills to throw up. So that's why you are seeing this kind of try and error thing. Oh, let's try parliamentary. We left parliamentary in 1963. And now suddenly, when they were even talking about the parliamentary system, they were not even looking at reducing the cost of governance. The first advantage of parliamentary system of government is that the National Assembly is collapsed into one, and the president or the prime minister can now pick his ministers. Becomes the prime minister. Yes. Yeah. No, you can still have ceremonial president for ceremonial function. Yeah. So the prime minister oversees the government and the National Assembly. Number two, National Assembly becomes a temporal thing. We only gather when we need to gather. Nobody need houses in Abuja that they don't use, by the way. These men are in hotels. So they are in hotels in Abuja legislating from there, and then the rest of us are shouting, the rest that are remaining. When you tune to National Assembly, now look at the number of empty seats. They would lie that is because the seats are many because of joint sitting. My brother, we have 91 senators. Let them show us their last register. They are not there. So what you see is, the eyes have it, the nails have it. So they are just trying and error, doing try and error or for a plane that is already airborne. Okay. And it's a dangerous trend.
Let's come to Awaji Inombek Abiante's proposal that was kicked away. I was stepped down. In presenting the bill, Abiante argued that the amendment would provide that the presidential candidate could only be deemed elected after securing the highest number of votes cast at the election, and they have not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. So he was calling for the amendment of the Constitution, that said simple majority. And he was saying it's not just going to be, I think we have such a situation in the United States. You have to have, I think, about 50%. And then there is is it college? There's a name.
Electoral college.
Electoral college, thank you. So I think it's similar to what he's saying. So you must have 1/4 of the 2/3 of states in the country, and then have more than 50%. Do you think that would have helped with bringing out better leaders?
No. I'm glad that the bill was thrown out. I'm very excited that it was thrown out, because that bill has nothing to do with the price of Gari in the market. That is not an emergency. Number two, they know what they are doing. They know what they are doing. They are busy proposing laws that Nigeria is bleeding. We need laws that can cause immediate relief. Nigeria needs first aid.
Do you think we can have? Do you think there is any immediate solution to Nigeria's problems? Because some economists and political scientists have argued that the problems we face have been a long time coming.
One of the problems we also have are these economists and pundits, like I mentioned, the Harvard and the Yale people, those who went to London Business School and one of the business schools somewhere in the southwest of Nigeria. They are everywhere. They propose theory is very easy. Let's do practical. This is practical journalism. This is broadcasting. It's different from the mass communication you read in school. Some of this equipment you probably didn't see them in your practicals when you were reading journalism or mass communication. Now let me zero in on what we're dealing with. That bill is completely not necessary. If we can even do what we have right now correctly, we already have that at the primaries. How did that help? Who talked about 2/3 of delegates from each state? No, it was simple majority. How did that help throw better candidates up at the level of PDP primaries, his own primaries, his party? Why has he not proposed that to PDP? So that the delegates would be independent of the governors. So we will know how many delegates from Ahoda and Akukutoru voted for the governorship candidate. And by so doing, it will now be a simple majority by 2/3 of each of those local governments. Now we don't even know the delegate list is even a problem.
Okay.
So until we address this thing at the political party level, and please, my simple solution, which I've said in your studio some months or years ago, is introduce independent candidacy. Half of our corruption problem will be solved if the processes that throw up leaders are cleaned out. And one of them is such that if Kala today, you are from, I think, Bayelsa State also.
I'm Rivers and Bayelsa.
Okay, either way, you are from one of these two states. Now, if your village people deem it necessary that Kala should go to either the Rivers State or House of Assembly, Rivers State House of Assembly or Bayelsa State House of Assembly, Kala should be able to only pass one screening, which is the INEC screening. You submit your credentials to INEC. INEC checks it and be sure that you graduated from the university or the secondary school you claim to
or
primary school, because our minimum qualification is CUSAT. Once that happens, Kala should be free to run into the election. So Kala and Marcus can run the election, and if 50 of us run for the House of Assembly seat, the next round of the election can now be among the 2 top candidates. See that? That is how it's done in most European countries. We are quick to cite America, like you quickly cited American election now. But what we don't cite is the American system of hospital. Nobody cites the American system of security. Nobody wants to go into that.
Let me get you INEC screens, DSS screens, and then what next?
You go straight into the election as an independent candidate. That should be infused so that those of us who want to bypass political party, the corrupt political party structures, which needs this reform that the House of Rep member is proposing. This proposal should have gone to his party, PDP, first.
Okay. Marcus.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned something, and it's part of the questions I penned down. You said we need immediate solutions.
Yes. First aid.
Nigeria is bleeding.
Yes.
People can't pay rent. People can't pay fees.
Yes. Water prices up.
Water prices up. I mentioned that as well. But it looks like the politicians are more particular about politics, especially in Rivers. I mean, this lawmaker is a Rivers lawmaker. The other time they were proposing the qualification, the minimum qualification for someone to be a president or for someone to be, a governor, and they said it should be the minimum of a university degree or its equivalent. Why this is 2024. I mean, in Rivers State, I mean, you and I, most of our conversations have been about the politicking. Was it 2 weekends ago? We had Akpabio come into the state and talk about replacements.
Governor, they should start planning for replacing
something like that. We also had the former governor come and say that that nobody can defeat them. That the unification of the political parties that they have come, that nobody can.
The holy alliance between PDP and APC in the states.
Okay, so why are they so focused on, politics when the people are saying, "I am hungry."
Yes,
I am hungry, and then you hear them say, "Give us time," but when they speak, most of the times it's politics. Imagine the presidency reacting to the protests, and they said it is politically motivated.
The NLC protest.
Yeah. So you can see. So I mean,
Kala, let me tell you.
Yeah.
The politicians know their job, which is politics, and they are doing it excellently well. Unfortunately, the followers don't know their role, and they are not following excellently well. You started by reading out the results of the last election. Kala, you are aware that INEC processed and registered about over 90 million.
Yeah.
By the time you tabulated the entire...
It wasn't up to 25.
Good. Can you tell me where the other PVCs were on the election money?
Some could have died.
They didn't die. 60-something million people did not die.
I didn't say all of them.
I'm telling
some
you,
could have.
For fact, they were in their houses.
Some did not collect.
Hello, sir. Those who... Okay, go and check the record of those who collected PVC. At least it was well over 40-something million.
Okay.
So where were the half on that day of the election? Irresponsible citizens. Because rigging is only possible, I've said it over time, when majority of voters are absent. I've been involved in elections since 1999. I've voted since 1999, sir. There are polling units that if the number that are voted in favor of, including the last polling unit that I voted in Abia State, they could not rig, because the number of those who wanted the right thing done far outweigh the few political thugs who wanted the wrong thing done. So let me come to politicians and what they do. I don't want to lose my train of thought concerning what should have been done in the immediate. Kala, one of the legislations that can bring immediate relief to Nigerians and FX now is to say that it doesn't need, you know the way they pass budget in Nigeria. We have been in this country before in Rivers State where budget was passed in 24 hours. The Federal Legislative Assembly can simply come up and say, guys, anybody who has XYZ amount of dollars cannot access more than XYZ, let's say 5,000 in a month.
That's in your bank account.
Yes.
Your foreign,
yes.
What they call it now?
Dom account.
Dom account, yeah.
If you must travel abroad, you must show evidence of flight ticket bought. If you are traveling for medicals, send us the hospital account number to your bank. Let your bank fund direct. And that bill can pass through first, second reading in 2 weeks. And the president can assent to it. And we'll know who actually needs dollar in this country. The reason why dollar is rising is not because you and I are importing toothpick. No. The reason why it's rising is that people are stealing massively now. And when you steal in billions of naira, you quickly convert to dollar. It's easier to carry. That's what is happening. Nobody should tell you any other lie. Any economic thing they are telling you is not true. Number two, they tell you, oh, they remove subsidy. Please, I would like to ask, what happened to the crude swap deal? I thought there was a time President Muhammadu Buhari told us that they would take crude out and bring back refined product, that it was a deal, a swap deal. That sounded like a better deal. Why are we still paying for refined products? That would have solved our fuel price.
So that means there were no subsidies in the first place.
Believe me. They will argue it because you are on hard fact. You can tell me, oh, do you have fact?
No, I do remember there was the swap deal.
Good. What happened to the Naira Chinese yen deal? I can
under Buhari as well.
Yes, under the same APC, under where the current president was the national leader of the party. He was the national leader. So he cannot say he had access to Buhari 24 hours of the day. So he cannot claim he didn't know about all of this deal. So when my company, we do one or two stuff, and some of our consumables are imported from China. In fact, I can tell you for free that 80% of our consumables are imported from China. So if we had the China deal, I will pay Naira direct to my Chinese supplier.
All right.
I don't need to buy dollar first before converting to yen. Chinese
yen.
Yes. I don't need to do that. And that will reduce pressure on the dollars. Why can't the National Assembly in 2 weeks, first, second reading and accent, say no child of a political office holder, whether appointed or elected,
is that not infringing on their rights? I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
It's part of the condition of the job. It's not about rights. There are certain jobs you take, you lose some of your rights. One of those such jobs is the police and the armed forces. You don't go to the police and say I have my rights. There's a command. So that your rights can get you into
court martial,
and for mutiny, and you'll be killed or even jailed. So if you want to lead me, can you sign this contract for me? That while you are in government, no child of yours or anybody related to you by name should study abroad. Do you know how much forex that politicians' children and public office holders' children are spending in UK and US and Canada and all of these places, that is also putting pressure on the naira. It is the children of the poor who sold land and went to the US that are remitting forex back to Nigeria, that we are boasting that because they are the ones sending money to their poor parents and cousins and relations in Nigeria, that we are boasting that we have 20 billion inflow. And then when you hear from politicians, they are talking about handouts. Have we gotten to that point where people now have to queue up for rice and die there because custom is now selling rice in this country? You seize rice and then you sell them at 10,000 subsidized price, and custom cannot guarantee. So politicians are playing their part. Nigerians as citizens, we are not playing our part. We shouldn't be waiting for NLC to tell us what to do. We know what to do. So if the politicians don't want to pass the right bills, we know what to do to bring them back. If we don't want to do it, then let pure water go to 1,000 naira per bag and everybody will be fine.
All right, then. Let's open the phone lines. We have about 16 minutes to the top of the hour. Marcus has said, maybe I should do a quick recap, that the politicians are just doing all of this hula baloo, just to confuse you and I. Because if they really wanted to pass good legislation...
in 2 weeks...
They could go through some very tough legislation.
The whole state budget is passed in 24 hours, and you're telling me you can't pass these things. I've listed about 3 things that should be passed. In 2 weeks, it can be done. President will assent to it.
Do you have more?
If he refuses to assent, they should veto him and assent to it. That none of his
the River State style.
It's not just Rivers alone.
Okay.
It's not just Rivers that pass budget in 24 hours.
No, I'm talking about the vetoing, the River State style.
Yes, I've told you before that Rivers have started practicing democracy. House of Assembly members are broke now. They have not been paid.
They have been paid, actually.
Oh, they have been paid. Finally, I need to see one of them.
They have been paid 3 months ago when they came back from Abuja and settled. They were paid. So let's not go there, please. But let's open the phone lines. 0817 923 0002 and 0817 923 0003. There is 0817 923 0007. We have WhatsApp for WhatsApp messages 0809 0306 Now, what started the conversation was, one of our lawmakers from Rivers State proposed a bill, because we have said leadership is the problem. And so he decided to work on leadership. And in his own opinion, having a majority, more than 50% of votes, in about 24, let's say two-thirds of the states, it's what will bring about good leadership. But do you agree? Do you think majority really know what is good for Nigeria? And then the second question I'm asking, why are they so focused on politics and elections? And we're going through an ordeal, but these guys are just focused on politics, especially our Rivers politicians. I've got Matalaye from Eleme. Matalaye, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
All right. My name is Matalaye from Eleme.
All right, welcome.
The reason why these guys, these politicians, actually love politics, did you know how much these people are gaining? Do you know how much they are stealing? Let me use that word.
No, let's go with gaining. Because we can't prove they are stealing. So let's go with gaining, please.
No, they are not gaining because they are not selling anything. Yes, because did you know that? Okay, let me tell you this. There is a road in Eleme. They have awarded a road more than 17 times.
What road is that? So I can work on the story. What road is that, please?
Okay, did you know that it is now that since the governor of Rivers State is working the road, I can call their names, politicians that road has been awarded to. None of them benefit to hold the road. They are just there to send money to their relatives, their children, finish. See, I love everything your guest in the studio is saying.
Okay.
Did you know that very soon, pure water, if Indomie, one Indomie will be 1,200. Jesus, I cried.
All right. All right. Thank you, Matalaye. On a lighter note, someone said on Facebook that the Indomie generation can't afford Indomie anymore. On a lighter note, like I said, Azunda from Ingbo Shimini. Oh my, I missed that one. Sorry, please do call back if you can. Let's see. I've got messages. This one says the Nigeria government as flair for mind games, politicization will finish the polity. Nigeria needs scrambling. Omosebi Omololu Bamidele from Ado Ekiti. Oh wow. Okay. This one says, "Good afternoon, Kala Dakaru and Marcus. Please do not hesitate. You're correct if you say it complete. Trial and error. A situation where the worst amongst us are ruling or governing us is referred to as kakistocracy."
No, kakistocracy is the government by the military.
I was going to say that. Kaki now. There's kaki there now.
Government by the kaki boys.
Yeah, but
which is military government.
Abokaribo, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This one says, listening to your guest, Mr. Marcus, I came to one conclusion. We have all it takes to be a great country. We have the men and women of integrity like Mr. Marcus and the Abia State Rec, the Prof. But we have one major obstacle, the evil that controls the powers that be. But you see, nothing lasts forever. Have a pleasant evening, Newton Ikire. I've got Mike from Bayelsa. Mike, greetings to you. Welcome on the show. It's good to have you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
God bless your guest for speaking out the truth. Yeah, you see what he said, and I align myself with that. What the governors are doing, that is why they hijack the jack. They form a joint account with local government according to jack accounts. When the allocation is shared from the federation, it comes in naira. Then what they now do is to convert it to dollar, so that it becomes very easy for them to carry about. I hope you remember Gandu dollar. A governor carrying dollar up and
but that's still an
I don't know what he was doing with dollar. If Nigeria,
he said there is to say in the video was doctored.
He's the national chairman of APC. So my brother, the truth is that until we start to tell ourselves the truth in this country, that these men don't mean well for us. Your oppressor makes more money, makes more enjoyment the more he oppresses you. And you cannot get out of your oppressor by, please, oppressor, leave me. You can only get out from your oppressor by force, whether you like it or not. The media you are working there, you are just an employee of a certain company there. So you must adhere to the rules and regulations of the company that establish what you are doing there.
Okay.
And that is why, during the Buhari administration, he knew what he was about to unleash to Nigerians. He now brought about hate speech. If you talk against government,
speech,
say you are being hate
speech is
but you know that we are about to introduce obnoxious laws, things that will oppress the people. Then what you did was to run ahead of the people to tell them that introduce the law, so that if they speak against us, we say that they are speaking against the government.
All right.
These are our oppressors. Until the people rise up to the vocation to say enough is enough to my oppressor, just forget about it.
All right, thank you, Mike. I mean, hate speech has always been, in the laws. Daniel from Transamadi, welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, greetings. Quickly, please.
For me, before I go, I think there's a certain statement I've been on.
Okay.
Which is where he said that on the day of elections, some people are home.
But the statistics show it. Turn off your radio first of all. We had less than 25 million people. We had about 90 million people register. So yes.
When you talk about statistics, that is exactly the statistics that the institution is showing you. I went out for election. A lot of people is not able to vote because of the institution we have. That before election, it looks like that institution have already set agenda what they want to achieve.
No. Oh, okay.
So whatever they do, they will make sure that they achieve objectives they have before the election. That is number one.
Okay.
Then first to what we are talking about, which is about the bill. No matter whatever bill you bring in Nigeria, it will not work. If election in Nigeria is concerned, because first, you can only get election right if you have a system that will make election transparent. We can continue to have bad leaders from now to even 40 years to come because of the kind of electoral system we have. In the last election, I was hoping that they are going to get it right. because of the divas. But unfortunately, the same system I keep on asking us, fail us again. So if they allow we to majority in the whole of the state, if the system have already taken a motive what they want to achieve, they will still maneuver and get it.
All right.
So the problem in Nigeria is not even leadership, it's not even a president. The problem is not the current governor. The problem is that the electoral system. If the leader actually know that 2027 will become a president, how do you think it will work for you?
Okay.
He will be there and do whatever he wants to do and get away with it.
All right.
The governor of the know that what do they call it in Nigeria? Structurally, he can bring himself to power. He can even remain there without doing one thing and you get away with it.
All right.
So if we do not get the electoral system right in this country, we will continue having bad leaders. We will continue to protest in hunger. We will continue to protest because they need that these leaders knew that whatever they do, they have somebody in this system that will bring them back.
All right, Daniel, I've got to go. I've got to go, but thank you very much. I've got a commercial coming up. I don't know if I can read this message. It said the reason dollars is rising is not because we're importing the dollars. The reason dollars is rising rapidly is because they're stealing our billions in naira and converting it to dollars. Chief K, I completely agree with your guest. It's almost time for the commercial, so I really want to come back. Just stay tuned.
The show continues after this break on Nigeria.
Update on 92.3 Nigeria Info.